Breaking news coming in this evening. Rating agency Standard & Poor's has downgraded South Africa to junk status. S&P says the country's outlook is negative. Rating agency has cited political uncertainty as the reason for downgrading South Africa. S&P has downgraded nearly 2 days after Mmusi Gigaba moved to the Minister of Finance position. Now joining us to discuss this further, we are joined by ANN7's business editor, Mr. Clive Ramatabela-Smith. Good evening to you, Clive. I suppose the big question is, can the cabinet reshuffle and the appointment of Mmusi Gigaba as the new Minister of Finance be held as the reason for Standard & Poor's downgrading South Africa to junk?
Abigail, I'm your colleague. You're not supposed to be asking difficult questions. Top of the evening to you and to the rest of our viewers as well. Let me just get into it quickly so that everybody understands the status where we were prior to Minister Gordon and former Minister Gordon and former Minister of Deputy Minister of Finance left last week for Monday to make sure that they reassure the credit raters that business is as usual, things are continuing to be as they should be, and nothing is actually wrong. So, to answer your question directly, yes, there was influence by the decision from the presidency to remove or to have a cabinet reshuffle, because obviously when there's an incumbent that is new, that does send shivers down a lot of investors' spines. So it creates a little bit of uncertainty. And that could have maybe edged on the decision to rather downgrade South Africa. But I just want to make clarity, it's our bonds that have been left to be in junk status. So credit ratings include bonds. And so if the credit rating of the bond, it means that we have more expensive debt, and it means that obviously we pay a little bit extra than what we should have. And obviously there's concerns about infrastructure development projects that will mean it's going to cost us a little bit more. And that includes anything that has to do with whether it be by power utilities, nuclear projects, agricultural projects. All those things then come unfortunately under scrutiny because of this new result that we sit under. So I want to answer your question correctly. I don't want to be political about it. I want to be correct about it. And the simple answer to it is that yes, that would have had an influence because they had a sudden meeting over the weekend to decide on the future of South Africa's credit rating.
And Clive, besides the political reshuffling and the political changes that we have seen in the last couple of days, what sort of other factors, if any, came into play here?
There are a number of things that rating agencies take into consideration. One of them being obviously the political space, but most importantly, the country's growth. And that's why I say maybe this one has to do more politically than actually what's been happening on the bottom end of what's been going on. Today, for example, we just got the statistics coming out that shows that in terms of motor industry, we've had more people buying vehicles in the last quarter of 2016 than previously on a year-on-year basis, which means that there was an increment, so people are buying vehicles. Secondly, we had our jobs numbers come down. We saw the last quarter of 2016 coming down, so that means that it was strong. We were very positive about the economy and where it's going. We had our inflation being reviewed downwards from 6.6% to 6.3%. Not only that, we also had the rand strengthen to levels that we last saw about 19 months ago. So all of a sudden, all this has turned around. And one of the reasons why the rand is so volatile is because of the political instability that we're experiencing currently on a temporary basis. I can tell you, though, this is a sigh of hope. I'm supposed to still hope as well, Abigail. That's my responsibility. The hope is that when the dust settles, and all of a sudden we'll realize in actual fact that perhaps maybe there was an overreaction. We do have 6 months in which to certainly make sure that things go right. We have 2 other rating agencies who are still keeping us intact, so we shouldn't panic just yet. Let's hope that they will look at this and see it differently as opposed to what Standard & Poor's has revealed this afternoon.
Clive, should there be concern with regards to the move now by other credit rating agencies, the likes of Moodys and Fitch?
Yeah, well, Moody's, as much as they are always in a bad mood, I think because they've put us slightly a bit 2 notches above of junk status. So even if they were to downgrade us, we'd still not be in the junk status position. With Fitch, on the other hand, I think to show independence, and this is me now trying to save or whatever is available. But if you're about to show independence, S&P has got a totally, completely different way of approaching how they do ratings. And we've always said and been critical about rating agencies and their independence. So will they wait? I mean, I thought it was premature of Standard & Poor's to actually act now, soon after the minister has been changed. I thought they would wait first, see if the reaction from the market remains unstable. If that does change around, then you've got the time then therefore to have a look at different things and put that into your pocket before you actually make a decision. So it was disappointing that immediately after the minister has been changed, without giving the minister any opportunity really, that they've decided to downgrade. So we hope that the independents will defy all calls for a next credit rating downgrade. And I'm hoping that the 2 other ones will be more objective and look at actually that the economy is still stable, the economy is still going to grow at a target that we've put, as National Treasury has said. We're looking at 1.3% this year in 2017.
Clive, on that note, of performance, we heard from the new Minister of Finance, Mmusi Gigaba, and he did say that he wants to be judged on his performance and that he deserves a chance for that. Was it then fair for S&P, if they did, to base this perception on other factors and not necessarily his performance?
I'm going to ask you this, Abigail. Are you looking for my personal opinion, or are you looking at the opinion of a business editor?
Give us your opinion, Clive.
Okay, my personal opinion is that I've been watching social media, I've been listening to a lot of tweets, and I've been reading a lot of tweets on Facebook and listening to what people are saying, and even disappointed at the way that a lot of bankers have responded to what the reshuffle has meant to them. They seemingly have put the finance minister as somebody who's unknown, firstly, in the financial markets and banking sector, and that is somebody that perhaps will not be qualified to be in that role. Now, this is quite surprising because I can tell you the norm around the world is not necessarily bankers and financiers in the political sphere that head up these positions. It's people who understand entrepreneurship, and if you know the background of the new finance minister, he's very strong in that line. Not only that, he's got international experience when it comes to dealing with both domestic and international relations from his former post as somebody who handles our home affairs. Not only that, he understands business because he was himself at the helm at the state-owned enterprises, which is the Department of Public Works. So he understands the intricacies that are involved in business. I would have thought, as an astute business person, that you would wait first and assess how he does in his first at least 3-4 months before you make a decision like that. Watch how the markets respond to him. Look what he does. And I mean, his first move, by the way, on Friday, he says, was to call the rating agency. So they knew he was there. They spoke to him. They had engagement with him. They spoke to him for hours on end, and he was preparing meetings with them to go and see them in the not-so-distant future. So for me, I think it is a rather premature to move like this, particularly when you still have 3 months to go before you can actually make your decision. So I think it's a bit unfortunate that that's happened. But the response that we get, and this is the problem, the response that you get from civil society about the president's reshuffle, the response that you get from business banking and also the finance world is that it has startled some of the decision makers and the investments, and the rand's plummet is at the back of that particular decision. And so that's why I think they were quick to move and say that they must downgrade South Africa.
Well, let's leave it there for now. Clive, thank you very much for your comments and your opinions. We appreciate you talking to us here. NN7's business editor, Clive Ramatabela-Smith. We're going to continue with the views and comments coming in. We are joined now on the phone line by Andila Mqetama, National Convener of Black First, Land First. Good evening to you, sir, and thank you for joining us here on NN7. Your initial reactions to the news now that S&P has downgraded South Africa to junk status?
We're not surprised at all. In fact, we expected this move. Remember, we have been saying that South Africa has come under attack from imperialism. Now, their modus operandi to remove a president that they don't want, because those presidents are either seen as siding with the BRICS process or they want their people to have control over the economy, is precisely to downgrade. If you look at all the BRICS countries, they have been downgraded, with the, of course, consequences that in Brazil they downgraded, then they supported opposition parties and civil society with American money and the CIA advice to topple the president of Brazil. They want to do exactly the same thing in South Africa. So, in part of economic terrorism by the West is to bring their private organizations called grading agencies. These are private business organizations which themselves have been found to be involved in corrupt activities. Some of them are paying money in the United States of America because of their corruption. They attack economies and then they make people suffer, and in this way try to mobilize societies against their presidents. That's what they want to do in South Africa. They're called by the opposition parties, racist opposition parties, including the EFF, of the Black Monday today. Also the shutting down of the country Friday. It is part of a program of imperialism supported by the grading agencies to terrorize our people, to intimidate us, and ultimately to get the agenda back on track. Because President Zuma has disorganized that agenda. He has now put firmly on the table a radical proposal on the land question and also on the economy. And these things, now they want to reverse them. What we're saying as BLF is that the nation must stay calm, and the President Zuma must press on with the radical transformation agenda. When we are downgraded, as it is the case now, it is the greatest opportunity to implement radical transformation. We're calling for land to be occupied by our people. We're not talking about municipality land. We're talking about land owned by white people, because that is an asset which you cannot downgrade. We go on also mine workers. We call them to occupy these mines so that they can be nationalized. We call on the new Minister of Finance to actually make sure that we nationalize the South African Reserve Bank. When we are downgraded, it is the best time to press on with the radical agenda, not to be intimidated. They're going to make our people suffer. And when the economy is not in our hands, we are going to turn our people against ourselves. The great opportunity, we expected it. It is now the test for both President Zuma and his new Minister of Finance, whether they are willing to fight this battle to the end.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Nkletama, for your